chaos erupted on GB News as presenter Emily Carver was forced to intervene when a furious clash exploded over Palestinian flag displays across Britain. The fiery showdown erupted between Gary Mund, chairman of the National Jewish Assembly, and Fahima Mohammed, after outrage was sparked by a towering 30-foot Palestinian flag flown by Dale Vince in the Cotswolds. But as tempers flared, the heated row spiralled completely out of control, leaving Carver battling to regain control while the studio descended into utter chaos. Watch the clip before starting, subscribe to the channel, like and write your opinion in the comment.
Did you know over 95% of our viewers aren't subscribed? Subscribing is free and helps us create more great content. Hit subscribe now and join our community.
Who will have different views on this, I'm sure. Gary, I'll start with you. Should he take this flag down?
Of course he should. That flag represents a terror organisation. It was created by Yasser Arafat, the founder of the PLO, in 1964, at a time when Egypt occupied Gaza and Jordan occupied the West Bank. They believe Palestine is the entire territory of the State of Israel. It represents the destruction of Israel, and it also represents Jew hatred. Absolutely, that flag should be taken down. And I believe most locals who don't really have a view on the Middle East issue at all want it taken down as well. It's got nothing to do with, as Dale Vince says, shadowy Israeli lawyers. What a joke.
OK, let's throw that over to Fahima.
Well, I think what you just said there, Gary, unfortunately, for most people across the globe, do not agree with you. That does not represent Hamas. It is a misrepresentation and misinformation. And we've shown many flags. I've let you speak. Please let me continue without interruption. OK, this is not about foreign policy. It's about freedom of expression and solidarity with the oppressed people. We fly the Cornish flag, the Pride flag, even football flags. And there's never been an outrage, even if it comes to Tibet or Ukraine. And a lot of, countries across the globe recognize Palestine. Even the Prime Minister today is actually, in making sort of, ways in which in future Palestine will be recognized, even if it's a non-sovereign state at this very moment in time. That did not stop, Tibetans or the Cornish flag or anything else in the past. And for you to display an entire region as being Hamas supporters is completely wrong. You've constantly said that narrative, and that is absolutely wrong.
Okay.
Even
I didn't mention Hamas.
Let Gary come back to that. Let Gary come back to that.
I didn't mention Hamas at all in my earlier remarks. This flag was formed by Yasser Arafat, the leader of the PLO, in 1964, and at a time when Israel did not occupy Gaza or the West Bank. That flag represents the destruction of the State of Israel, no more and no less. And it is a flag that represents and is seen by so many of the Jewish community in Britain to represent Jew hatred, the way it's displayed on all the marches that have taken place.
That is incorrect. There are 13 Jewish organizations that even stand with the Solidarity for Palestine, Holocaust survivors, ministers, even ex-prime ministers.
They are a tiny minority.
They are all Jewish, and they're all in solidarity with Palestine. And they recognize there is only the far-right extremists in the Netanyahu government, which includes yourself right now, by the way you're speaking, who has absolutely no idea what you're talking about and are extremist, ethnocentric, and are there to destroy the Palestinians.
Okay, there's quite a lot of accusations there. Fahima, one moment. There's quite a lot of accusations that you've thrown at Gary. Gary, do you want to come back on those?
That is from Channel 13.
Hang on, Fahima. We'll come back to you.
Let me speak, Fahima.
We'll come back to you, Fahima, Gary.
Please let me speak. The viewpoint that the Palestinians essentially wish to destroy Israel and the Jews there is widely held. It is not just a question of you saying, oh, well, there's lots of Jews who actually support a Palestinian state. There are a heck of a lot more who do not. And there are a heck of a lot of people around the world who do not support the notion of Jew hatred, which that flag represents.
But you haven't seen the protests in Israel right now. Even in Netanyahu, in his own government, they actually state that they want to take over. They are the ones that are causing destruction, not the other way around as you described. That is completely incorrect. And that is on Jewish TV. That is not even here.
Okay, we're going to have to leave it there because we've run out of time. But thank you very much indeed, Gary Mond and Fahima Mohammed.
Stay tuned for more. Broadcaster Christo Fufa unleashed a blistering attack on Britain's two-tier justice system after a Labour councillor who urged crowds to cut the throats of his opponents walked free, while others face prison for far less. Speaking on GB News, Fufas and Patrick Christys tore into the staggering double standards, highlighting the case of Ricky Jones. The Dartford councillor acquitted only yesterday, despite his blood-curdling call to target so-called disgusting Nazi fascists. The presenters then drew sharp comparisons with the imprisonment of Lucy Connolly, a contrast that left the studio utterly stunned. Watch the clip.
Is Ricky Jones, it's the status difference. Ricky Jones was an elected person of influence in that community. He had people listening who thought, yes, this is a man who knows what he's talking about, we respect him. Lucy Connolly was an anonymous mum on Twitter with, I think, very few followers when she was upset about the most heinous crime being committed. She was angry and she did a stupid thing and then took it down of her own choosing without being spoken to by the police. Surely at some point there could have been an opportunity for the case to have been reviewed and to be heard by a jury. But, you know, it's tragic, awful.
The implication, hidden implication, whether this is true or not, but the hidden implication, Christo, would be that if you were, quote-unquote, right-wing, you were urged to plead guilty and you were going to be banged up. But if you were, in the case of Ricky Jones at the time, a Labour councillor, your legal advice would be plead not guilty, go to a jury and you'll walk.
And part of the reason I think that people on the right, who had made mistakes and were wrong, incidentally, were given that advice was because the Prime Minister actually came out and called everyone who had been protesting far right. Now, bearing in mind that they were subject to charges at that point, how is that not prejudicing the trial? So, of course, their legal counsel will say, right, well, you've now been branded far right. The Prime Minister has said that, you know, you're all going to be come down on like a ton of bricks. So it is best that you plead guilty to try and mitigate any punishment you get. And I think, by the way, you're absolutely right that when you are a counsellor, it's like when a police officer commits a crime. There is a higher threshold than when you are a civilian. So I think, okay, you know, he's been found not guilty, but the quote is, talking about people protesting, they are disgusting Nazi fascists. We need to cut all their throats and get rid of them all, whilst running a finger across his throat. And you look at that and you think, well, of course you think not guilty, don't you? I think not guilty. Of course you read that, you think not guilty.
But no elected official should ever use that sort of language, full stop.
A lot of people are going to be asking, how is Lucy Connolly in prison?
That's the point.
Her doing something wrong, and someone who arguably does something far more wrong on camera, who is an elected official, is not guilty.
Look, all for free speech and the right to offend. I probably offend a lot of people every single evening. I might have even offended some people in this room tonight, so apologies about that. However, you know, all for free speech. For me, it's not a case of like, you know, well, OK, maybe I didn't agree with what he said. Maybe he should have been allowed to say it. And he has been allowed to say it because there's been no consequences for him. But that means that Lucy Connolly should also have been allowed to say what she said. And then she shouldn't be in prison as well. That would be my...
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Next UK, your go-to for real stories and sharp analysis.